This series introduces 6 concepts to help you think about history. In this session, we focus on historical significance as we explore the importance of an event during the First World War involving the internment of thousands of civilians in labor camps in Canada. Although it is well known that the government interned Japanese Canadians during World War II, few people realize that this was not the first time it happened to Canadian residents who had come from other countries. During World War I, Ukrainians and other Europeans living in Canada were classified as aliens of enemy nationality. Many were interned in labor camps, not because they had done anything wrong, but because of their cultural background. Why is the Japanese Canadian internment, but not the Ukrainian Canadian internment, widely known and understood? Is one event more historically significant than the other? If you stop to think about it, billions of events happened in Canada between the start of World War I and the end of World War II. During this time, millions of people were born and millions died. Millions of students graduated and millions more entered school. While these events and countless others would have mattered to the families who experienced them, the rest of the Canadian society would not have noticed them. How do we decide which events in the past are important, historically speaking, and which events are relatively insignificant? In other words, how do we decide what gets included in your history textbook and what is left out? The answer to these questions is a matter of historical significance, determining what and who should be remembered and learned about in history. The first question to ask when assessing the historical significance of an event is, how notable was the event at the time it was happening? The forced registration and internment during World War I was a national event involving many thousands of people. Over 88,000 men were legally categorized as enemy aliens, and if they were Canadian citizens, they lost their right to vote. Over 8,500 individuals lost almost everything they owned and were interned for up to 6 years in 24 camps across Canada. Many of these people were forced to do heavy labor in these camps. 107 internees died from disease, work accidents, suicide, and injury while trying to escape. A second question when determining significance is, how widespread and lasting were the consequences after the event? Clearly, the impact of internment affected many people deeply for a prolonged period of time. The labeling of many thousands of people as enemy aliens and being made to feel like second-class citizens and criminals scarred many of these people throughout the rest of their lives. Even today, families feel the effects of the trauma experienced by their parents and grandparents. The money, property, and other valuables confiscated by the Canadian government, estimated to be about $30 to $40 million, imposed great financial hardships that many families never recovered from. A final question to ask when assessing historical significance. Has the event become symbolic or representative of key historical issues or trends? Some historical events assume great importance because they come to symbolize a bigger issue or development. For example, the dropping of the atom bomb in 1945 signals the beginning of the nuclear age, and the bombing of the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001 has come to represent the arrival of international terrorism on North American shores. Has the Ukrainian internment come to symbolize bigger issues in the Canadian society? For many descendants of internment survivors, the event signaled the indifference of the Canadian government towards minority groups. Other commentators see the event as the first time in the Canadian history that the fundamental rights of massive numbers of individuals were ignored because of wartime fear. Perhaps, as a token of its significance, the Canadian government created a fund in 2008 to commemorate the event and the memory of the individuals who were wrongly treated. So what have we learned? Assessing the historical significance of an event involves asking these questions. How notable was the event at the time it was happening? How widespread and lasting were the consequences after the event? Has the event become symbolic or representative of key historical issues or trends? Historical significance. That's it.